Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Creative Cranium. We got some great guests tonight. We're going to be talking to the gang from Comicsburgh. I'm really excited to have this episode. First off, I want to congratulate you guys on your many successes in the publishing field lately. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So we're going to go around and talk to a couple of our guests here individually. While we're getting started, let's go around the room, and if you could introduce yourself and tell us what title you're the most known for and how long you've been going at it. Start with you, Marvin.
So Marvin Wynn, I am the writer of The Edge, and I've probably been working in comics since the late 90s almost, so 15 years or so. Wow, man, I'm old.
Late 90s? Really? You've been at that a while, man.
Yeah, man, the time flies, really. Shoot. But I would say that the first real start of The Edge was back in 2009. We'll use that as the marker.
That's kind of like your jumping off point?
I would say that's when I start working with the artist Mark. So I'll count that as the milestone and we'll start there.
Okay, cool, man. I can buy that. And Herwenberg, how about you?
You're muted.
Are you there?
Yep, sorry about that. We're all from Pittsburgh, and I guess I've been reading comics technically since 1977 when I bought Star Wars #1. But as far as making stuff, I produce a live-action television show since 2016 and started turning it into comic books in 2019. And I'm known for Herwenberg, which is both the TV show and the comic book.
Nice. Awesome. Always love to show some support to Pittsburgh, too. My daughter went to school there. Next, we'll go to Grant. How about you, Grant? Tell us a little bit about Beowulf.
Yeah, so I've been reading comics since I was, probably 1992. And so I guess I'm the youngin' of the group. I've just been doing Beowulf now for a little over 2 years. And we currently have issue 5 on Kickstarter, and that is part 5 of a 6-part story. So the last part of this story should be coming out later this year.
So it's a 6-issue arc?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And I also, am I correct? I see this in the previews catalog now.
That's correct. Yes, issue 1 is in stores right now, and issue 2 is in the previews catalogs.
All right, perfect. Perfect. Well, we'll come back. We're going to learn a little bit more about these titles as we're going forward. One of the things is tonight, we kind of want to learn about you guys and to learn about the creative minds behind Comicsburgh. Marvin, did you ever have anything in your career like a break, or how would you say you got your start? Like what was your moment when you said, okay, it's comics? Do you remember the moment?
I think that in some instances, when you're talking about the way that I came about things, it was a lot of falling on your butt and starts and stops and trying to figure out where your path is at. And I would say that once the Comicsburgh thing came about and we got into Diamond's previews, I think that that's where I'm going to launch off from, because a lot of the stuff that I did before, we had too much starts and stops where you put your faith in the wrong people and it ends up burning you. So it's best to me that we really try to focus on what's good, what good came of it, and Comicsburgh is what's good about it.
Gotcha.
So it became a new journey to me, where you had to like shake the dust off your shoes, or as you must say, and walk down the path of your own creation.
Well said. It's a great answer. Herwenberg, how about you? Do you remember how you got your start, or was there a lucky break, anything like that?
You mean start as far as creating our stuff?
Yeah, just for how you got going, kind of.
Sure. There's a specific origin story. I mean, it goes back many years, but I guess the year zero would be 2016. I was interning at a institution called Pittsburgh Filmmakers, which gives local indie filmmakers a chance to create using equipment you can borrow. And I was in charge of the borrowing equipment library, working there over the summer as just interning there for fun, nice. And wound up being able to use their equipment, and just got influenced by a whole bunch of things that I'd been seeing at the time, and decided to make a live action superhero show in Pittsburgh. Influenced by the past 30 or so years of TV, movies, and comics. I'd say, all the way back to like George Perez's New Teen Titans, or Dial H for Hero, or X-Men in the 80s, Spider-Man, all the way up to today. And so, I just had access to some free equipment and wound up starting to make episodes, and eventually bought my own stuff. And unfortunately, Pittsburgh Filmmakers is now gone. It's very lamented by the local creative community. It's not there anymore, but it was around for about 40 years. And so, now I use my own equipment and fully, independent, and decided that it would be a good idea to also make a comic book out of the TV show. Everything's created 100% locally in Pittsburgh, by the way.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you keeping it local, and I love to hear stories like that. And there's a lot of handshaking, right, between the independent film industry and the comics publishing industry. At least that's been my experience so far. And when we come around the next circle, Herwenberg will play that video. Grant, I'm going to jump over to you. Do you remember? Did you have a lucky break? How did you get your start?
I started working on this comic book over quarantine. I was it might sound kind of strange. I was obsessed with the documentary about the forming of Image Comics. For some reason over quarantine, that was like comfort TV for me. Like I watched it like 4 or 5 times, and I don't know. I found myself like fantasizing a lot about working on a comic book, and I finally just said to myself, you can fantasize about this all you want, but you need to put, pencil to paper, and that's what I did.
And now, in your case, you write it and draw it?
I do some of the art. My friend Antonio Brandau helps me with the art. So I have one other guy who helps me, but I do, I would say most of the art. I do the inking, the coloring, and the lettering.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, you know, it takes a village, right? And the question I want to ask you guys next is, you have kind of an interesting dynamic here, how you have combined forces, so to speak. And I guess the first question is the obvious one. Why did you do it? Marvin, why did you team up?
Almost like you said, it's the team dynamic, and you're out here in this world, and you like it takes a village. You can't do it by yourself, and like you need backup. You need buddies. You need friends in this industry, or you get burned a lot.
Right.
People, you can't stand on your own, and I mean, and I put that out there for everyone who wants to try to do anything independently. Get you some backup. Get you somebody that's going to have your back in situations and can help you and provide resources that you don't have also.
And I remember we met briefly in Baltimore, and you were telling me there's like 3 teams. How many people are we talking about in the Comicsburgh empire?
Could I answer that?
Yes, sir. Please do. Yep. If you're the best.
I kind of wanted to give you the origin of the name too, because that's interesting.
Yeah, please lay it on us.
Yeah. So there are I don't know, 6 or 7 creators total in the Comicsburgh circles. Besides myself, Marvin, and Grant, we have Mauricia, who's going to be coming in later, I think. We also have DP, who does Theme of Thieves. He moved here from Cleveland, part of our group. We have Wayne Brown, who is one of my interior artists, and he just launched a Kickstarter called Killionaire, which is his first creator-owned book after doing a lot.
It's a cool title.
Actually, I thought of Killionaire, and I just gave it to him. I was like, Marvin, Wayne, you should use this. And he fleshed it out into an entire world about an anarchist who kills corporate executives, which is fun. And so the name of I was really surprised I looked for Killionaire all over the internet, and there was nothing called that, which I was very surprised about. Anyway, the name Comicsburgh itself comes from a series of videos that I did on the Heroinberg YouTube channel, and Mauricia and Marvin helped with some of those. They were interviews with Pittsburgh-based creators and stores, and we did 7 episodes, Comicsburgh episode 1 through 7. In fact, the first one was a tour of Walmart looking for the Allegiance display.
Nice.
And we found it, and then the rest of them were just interviews, like I said, with creators, a lot of whom who were connected to our project, and with some stores, most, all of whom sold our books. And, after the 7th episode, we kind of stopped that, but the name became the name of the group that we formed to, work together, attend Comic-Cons, join forces on live streams and so on.
Sure. And how many people do you usually take to a con, or does that vary every time?
It varies greatly.
It varies, but it's anywhere between 2 and 4, depending on who can go and who wants to go. I guess the typical super group would be 3 creators and an actress from my series. But it varies widely depending on who goes which weekend to what. But locally, we like to have full complement if possible, and we love to have 4 creators and an actress at some of our local stuff.
Sure.
Like Three Rivers Comic Con or Pittsburgh Book Fest. Well, we're going to have the gamut of people involved.
Good shows. I'm familiar with them. I got to get out that way. I'm on the other end of the state. It's not too convenient at times for me to get to Pittsburgh, but it's a great town. Great town.
You're from the east side of Pittsburgh, or east side of Pennsylvania?
Well, yes, South Central, I guess you'd say. I'm in York, Pennsylvania. I'm about 30 miles north of Baltimore, Maryland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I guess most people, if you had to pick what I'm closest to, you'd probably say Harrisburg.
Right, and we probably would see you in Hershey, PA, or somewhere if we went over there.
Yeah, yeah. Matter of fact, they're starting to have cons that come around to the Harrisburg area as well. But I want to quick jump over to Grant and ask him that question, right? Like I like to sort of get inside you guys' heads. So Grant, you were already going by the time that you met up with the Comicsburgh gang. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think I had one issue of Beowulf out. And I actually contacted Manny for no other reason than I saw his comic book in a store. And yeah, I thought maybe it would be good to, network with some local Pittsburgh comic book writers.
Smart idea. And do you remember, was there a, like when you decided to team up, was there something that happened that made you say, hey, it'd be smart for me to team up, or just kind of happened organically?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the more people you have together, the more chances there are to get your name out there. People might, see Marvin's comic book and think, oh, let's check out this other Comicsburgh comic, Yeah, I think it's kind of just common sense that, combining forces is a good idea.
Well, yeah, and it can be a challenge too, right? Working like I want to ask this question: how does the publishing work? Are you guys all under one imprint? Is it split among? Marvin, how does it work for the Edge?
Well, I mean, it works in the way is that people can decide on how they want things to flow. So, I mean, you can go in the diamond with Grant and I. You can do direct sales like Herrenberg does. So, I mean, it's just a freedom of choice. So we're not imposing anything on anyone and saying, hey, if you want to be part of this collective, you have to do things this way or that way. You give people the freedom and the options to choose the path they want to take.
That's cool.
It's kind of like Image in that, like I own my own comic book. Manny owns his own comic book. And I don't tell Manny what to do with his comic book. He doesn't tell me what to do with my comic book. That sort of thing.
Yeah. That is sort of an Image-esque metaphor, isn't it? That's something that, I watch the work you guys are doing. I think you're doing terrific work over there. The titles all look really great. And of course, a couple of us met briefly in Baltimore. Look forward to that again this year if you're coming to Baltimore. But I got a couple questions I want to ask you, and this is about publishing in general. The first thing I'll tell you, you're definitely putting out a quality product, right? It's getting noticed. You're in the previews catalog. So I'll start with Marvin. Marvin, what does success look like? What is the long-term goal?
I mean, I think the long-term goal is to keep putting books out. I mean, we're selling out books from the last releases in March. People are saying that they want more of it. So you just have to keep producing more of it, right? And actually, in those kind of situations, sometimes it gets you a little bit of trouble when you're focusing on one thing when you should be focusing on something else. And being in the publishing realm pulls time away from being in the creative realm. And it's really hard sometimes to wear those hats and have to keep swapping them off over and over again.
Yeah, I'm coming to that too. I tell you what, Marvin, save that thought because that's the next question. Jump over to Herrenberg, right? Man, you guys have all this success. It really looks terrific from 1,000 feet. You got video, you got books, you got publishing deals. What is the long-term goal? What does success look like for the Comicsburgh gang?
Just to get known. It would be great if people knew what we did all over the place, as many people as possible, hopefully without making too many compromises or selling out. Yeah, I mean, Marvin, in addition to the creative and like you said, the creative and publishing business sides of your brains, I also do TV shows, so I have to balance the production of the comic book, the time that takes, with the production of the episodes as well, and then of course all the planning that goes into not just publishing but promoting and selling, whether it means going to a Comic-Con or something like that. A lot of stuff to do.
Right, exactly. And that question is coming around to you next too. Well, as a matter of fact, let's jump right in. I'll go to Grant on this one. So the first thing, Grant, you got a Kickstarter live, don't you?
I do.
Let's have a quick shout out for.
Did anybody put the link in the
Yeah, I've been flashing it along the bottom, but I thought it might be better for our purposes to put it up on the screen, and we'll chat about it just real quick. And before I wade into something that's maybe so, when you have a Kickstarter, are all the guys contribute to this? Is it individual? How does it work, Grant?
I would say it's pretty much individualist. I mean, I do. I mean, we pretty much keep to our own comic books, like separately.
Gotcha. Do you want to play the video quick, or do you want to do
That sounds great? Thank you.
Yeah, play it.
All right, man. Yeah, you got it.
Hey, everybody. Normally, I do this with my little buddy Mooney, who's been a great spokesman, and he's also a character in the book Beowulf. Unfortunately, that wasn't possible this time, but let's roll the trailer anyways.
Hazel always knew there was something special about her cat Mooney, but she's still shocked when Mooney opens his mouth to tell her he's just had a vision. An ancient evil has awoken after centuries of sleep, and only one man can stop it, the legendary warrior Beowulf. Unfortunately, it's been over 1,000 years since he slayed a dragon, and he's been reincarnated as this guy. His name is Victor, and he's more unemployed millennial slacker than mighty warrior.
In issue 5, we see Hazel and Mooney take center stage after Victor's run-in with the dragon. Also this issue, the main villain of the series, Attila, reveals his plan to take on Mooney, Hazel, and Victor. Issue 5 is the next to last story in the arc, so you're definitely going to want to pick up this one so you'll know what's going on in the epic conclusion of issue 6. If you missed issues 1 through 4, lucky you. You get to experience them all for the first time. We have issues 1 through 5 in the catch-up tier, or you can pick whichever individual issues you need and add them on after you pledge. We have a standard version of issue 5 and the deluxe. The deluxe comes with an exclusive cover and several pinups at the end of the comic book. So back the story now, only on Kickstarter.
Very nice, very nice. And it looks like, man, you pretty much got this. You got the.
If you're wondering why I look distracted during the video, it's because my other cat, Stitch, was being really cute in the background.
Sorry, I talked over your cat a little bit there.
No, it's all right. It's like a fake ending, right?
Yeah. So
it's
you
like,
got 90%
like
of the goal. You got a post-credits cat scene, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks like you got that one in the bag.
Yeah, I mean, I'm $300 away, which I know I'm going to get a last 48-hour boost, but it's still. I'd like to see it get funded before that. You know what I mean? Like anybody, I'm sure.
Right, man. I hear you. I got one live right now myself. Hey, we'll come around to that in a second. I didn't actually play before the Comicsburgh promo clip. You guys want to take a quick look at that?
Sure.
Yeah.
And welcome to Comicsburgh. I'm Arctica. We have here a great selection of comics and related to materials to offer from Pittsburgh creators. Heroinburg, a live-action video series and comic book series set in a fantastic version of the Steel City where dozens of women have superpowers. The Edge, a drug which grants people powers while slowly killing them, features 90s style high-octane action in the vein of G.I. Joe and X-Men. Beowulf, the classic Germanic hero reincarnated as a 30-something slacker, accompanied on his quest by a teenage girl and a sorceress cat. Team of Thieves, a pair of time-traveling teenagers try to solve the mystery behind disappearances of people across the world as global tensions escalate. Thank you for visiting our virtual booth, and we hope to see you in real life at Comicsburgh.
Very cool, man.
That was our actual virtual booth, as she said. That's Bridget playing Arctica. She's the Frosty heroine in my series. And that was the virtual booth for the Comicsburgh conference, which happened for the very first time in Pittsburgh in February. And thanks to the guys who run it, we had a presence there, which was just an amazing time, meeting all the people, all the stores in the industry, and some of the other larger comic companies. And I even was able to give my issues to CB Cebulski. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, it was pretty great. And yeah.
Yeah, that's a great video, man. And I'm a believer, as you may have guessed by watching what we're doing here right now, in that trying to develop engaging video content to attract consumers is what we're all struggling with, right? And I want to jump back to Marvin here because I like to learn a little bit about you guys. When you have your initial concept for The Edge, how did you get the idea? Were you inspired by something? Did it come to you in a dream? How did you get the idea the very first time?
I would say that most of the influences, as they said in the video, was like things like G.I. Joe, X-Men, and then when Jim Lee did Wildcats for Image and Wildstorm. And I think that it had a lot, and sometimes at some point when I was usually writing it, too much influence, because it was very flat and plain, I would say, when I first started creating it. And
what do you mean? But what do you mean by flat and plain? I want to hear that.
It was more or less a bunch of people with just powers with no characterization.
Okay, I get that.
So I think that in my initial group of characters was over 200, and they had no personalities. They were just ability. Like, what's this person's power, and that's who they are. That's it. And it took a long time. I say, like I said, when I say that I started in the 90s working on that, it took years to whittle it down into something that made sense to me. And then when I finally handed the script over to Mark and he loved it, I knew that it was ready to go.
Nice. Well, I think you guys did a terrific job with that title. And I forget if I asked you, how many, is this going to a longer arc? How many issues is it?
So we've got about 15 issues done so far. With more to come.
That's impressive.
It doesn't stop. I mean, originally it was up to 25 issues and then we were going to end it. But we just kept coming up with ideas and it just keeps growing and getting bigger and it's starting to gel. I would say it didn't really gel at first. And then as you go through it and you start to notice like, hey, we did this, and some things happen by mistake. So, when you're doing long form storytelling, sometimes you set something up to do the payoff later. Yeah. And some of the things that we're going to pay off with were happened by accident. At some points where we're like, oh, remember when this happened? We weren't planning to do anything with it, but now we're going to do something with it.
Well, it's like hey, we're all writers in here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the old adage about Chekhov's gun. If in the second page you show that gun hanging on the wall, it better be getting used at some point before the end of the story. Right? So, Heroinberg, same question for you. And of course, you got a lot of things going, right? You got video development, you got TV shows, comics. Yeah. How did you first? I'm going to ask you the concept idea. How did you first get the concept? Were you inspired by somebody? Did you see something else, or it just came to you?
Yeah. I would say I was inspired by things both old and new. When I'm talking about old, I'm talking about the things that we grew up with in the 70s and 80s. The idea of being able to create your own superheroes came to me first from Dial H for Hero, which I was reading when I was like 12 or whatever. At the time, the version of it allowed people to, literal kids to send in their own heroes and get them published in the book. And that was just mind-blowing. And, I remember creating some heroes all the way back then. Also, at the same time, in the 70s and 80s, there was a first wave of superhero TV shows. And, when you watch Linda Carter on the television for long periods of time.
Sure, man. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. You get inspired by her or, Electra Woman and Dinah Girl, Isis, things like that, and that just continues on through the years. But more recently, I kind of noticed two things, I guess. One was the fact that starting around the 99 or so, people started making live action superhero stuff, DIY stuff. And if you were
what do you mean by that?
Well, everything from more fetishy things to just mainstream productions. And when I talk about two specific things that I really enjoyed, one was I discovered the long-running comic book Femforce, and Bill Black, who created it, also made a series of movies with his characters, which I enjoyed. that all started around 20 years ago. Around the same time, George Perez, who was, of course, a legendary comic book artist, he started making movies of his original characters as well, a series called Sisterhood of Superheroines. And
yeah, right. I remember that now.
Yep. And so he, between those two and a few others, I was like, well, why don't I do this myself? I was watching a lot of CW shows too, and things like that. So why don't I do this myself and make a superhero world that, Bill Black's is based in Orlando, where he lives. His entire universe is Orlando-centric. So I'm like, why don't we make a Pittsburgh-centric universe with female superheroes? And like I said, I had access to free equipment from Pittsburgh filmmakers, and that's what kicked it off. Of course, after a while, you definitely want to make comic books out of those things.
Yeah. Great answer, man.
Old and new. Yeah.
Yeah, the old and the new. I'm very much like that myself.
The 70s and the 2000s.
Yeah, I sense, Mr. Herwenberg, that you might be closer to my generation because I have those same ones. But I do want to jump over. I want to jump over to Grant.
Thoroughly Bronze Age.
Yeah, I'm almost Golden Age, man, almost.
Oh,
but
boy.
as far as let's talk about Beowulf for a second. Oh, you okay there, Grant?
Yeah.
Or you need to...
Yeah. Sorry, I've been jumping around so much. I'm trying to get a cord that works so that my phone won't die.
Hey, at the end of the day, we can hear you good, so that's what matters.
Okay. I think hopefully this one works.
Okay. Great. So I would ask you this question, but slightly different. Like, so Beowulf, kind of some historical influences, obviously, but it's like a reimagining. When you first had first, was this your first book that you made?
Yeah. So
tell me how you got the idea, and like same thing. Were you inspired by something and said, "Oh, I gotta create"? How did it start? What was step one?
So Beowulf was a childhood idea that I had.
Oh, did I lose him?
He's frozen.
He might have froze.
Hopefully he'll unfreeze.
Yeah.
I'm hearing something.
It's like the ending of a 70s sitcom, right?
Yeah. And pause.
So, I'll tell you what, I'll jump over to Marvin then for the next question. So we talked a little bit about the long-term goals, right? Mm-hmm. And Marvin, I noticed something about you. You plan things out and you do a lot of strategizing, because I was watching what you were doing at the con, and I'm one of the guys, I follow you on social media and stuff like that. And my question to you is this one. We know what your long-term goal is to release this incredibly long arc for the Edge and probably many other things. Mm-hmm. But what are the steps that you're going to take as a creator to help you do that?
So, I mean, I think that leads back into the other question you were asking me before about the creative process. And that's just, I need to sit down and create. And I haven't been able to do that because of life. And hopefully soon.
Now, hold on. What do you mean by that? Are you saying like personal stuff or?
Yeah, personal life.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
We
can all relate to that one.
And I'm just hoping that I can sit down and let everything flow out, because like I said, is that we're at 15 issues, and I've got like 4 stories half written that I need to finish before Mark gets on a plane and flies over here and kicks me in the shins or something, because he's been like, oh man, I really need something. I need some work to do, and send me some stuff to do, because we've been doing like cameo stuff. So we've been working with another YouTube streamer called Spine Ticks, and we've been doing we did a cover for them, and we're doing cameos for them in the book. So that's what we've been working on recently. He wants to get back into the action and laser blast and things like that. So I'm like, just give me a couple more weeks, and hopefully things will calm down, and I can actually sit down and get new stuff to you. Because like I said, it's like we've got 4 things just hanging out there that we need to finish.
Perfect. And so first, let's introduce SK.
Yep, SK Malvo.
SK Malvo, welcome. Glad to have you. Thanks for joining our stream. Before we go back to the questions, let's just jump right in with you. Tell us who you are, what you're best known for.
First of all, I'm sorry for my tardiness. What I'm best known for, actually, believe it or not, I'm best known as a playwright. But I have a comic book out. It's called Music Maker. It's about a guy who is an anti-hero and has music-based powers. The cool thing about it, though, is that we actually have QR codes within the story itself that you can use. Yep, there we go. We've got QR codes within the comic book that you can use. You can scan with your phone and listen to add music that's actually happening in the comic. There's
Cool.
also a really awesome website called I believe it's look up Crypto Comics Marketplace, and you can have it's a digital version of the comic book, but it also has the ability of playing the music for you rather than you scanning it with your phone.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And how about
That's
when you first had the idea for your book, and you said you're the writer, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm the writer. I don't do the art.
Okay, perfect. We're all writers here, although some of us do a little bit of art. But in this
Yeah.
case, how did you get the idea for your book? Were you inspired by something? Did it come to you after drinking too much cough medicine? What?
if you read the book and everything, that's very plausible. Yeah, no, I don't know. The idea, I was fishing around in my little Rolodex of that's on my computer of characters I was coming up with and which ones I thought would be strong enough to have a story based around. And it just turned out to be this character I started writing the story, and the more I was writing, I was like, you know what, this just feels like it would be better on a visual medium. And I'd never done I'm a huge comic book fan, and I've been a nerd ever since since I was like 5, before I could even read comics. I knew about the Saturday morning cartoons and the after school X-Men, Spider-Man, all that good stuff.
Sure.
So I was a fan of that before I could even really read. So the idea of making a comic book, I'm like, well, maybe this will fly. And the response has been really positive. Promoting it has been challenging, but the response I've gotten from the story as well as the artwork has been really fantastic.
Well, the project looks amazing. Looking
Thanks.
forward to following your work. And I just want to quick say, thanks for joining us. This is all about learning about Comicsburgh tonight and who you all are as creators. And I'm really glad that you could make it.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad I did too.
You're welcome. And we're going to jump back to going in a circle, which was, and you're just in time for this one. And I really want to hear what you guys think of this. We talked about how it's like a bucket that we put everything in, and you have your creativity in there and you have your marketing in there. My question to you guys is this: how much of your energy by percentage is devoted toward writing and creating, and how much of your energy is devoted to marketing? Is it 75% creativity and 25% marketing? Marvin, how do you do it?
4 years ago, I probably would have said that it was 60 creativity, 40 marketing.
Yeah.
Over the last year, well, no, even let's go back to 2020 almost. It's been 90% marketing and 10% creativity, and that's where I'm stuck at right now. Yeah. And I've got to break out of that. And I've got to let something in some points in time take a week away from it and put it into the creativity bucket. If not, then I'm going to fry myself.
Right. And that's something I want to talk about, because I think all of us are in that same, I don't want to say trap, right? Because I'm grateful for all these great things that are happening to me, but I can't even imagine that I'm a podcaster video guy. What are you talking about? Like, it doesn't even make any sense. But anyway, the show's not about me. Let's jump over to Heroinberg. And now you got a lot of things. You got probably scripts, right? TV shows, artwork to go over. So how about you? What percentage is in creativity? You probably have a crazy high marketing percentage.
It's got to be. I would. It's not like 90-10. No, it's more like 25 creative, 75 marketing. So think about the thing is that I have to do a shoot about once a month in order to.
Okay, real quick, can I ask you a question about that? Now, when you say a shoot, this is a video shoot.
I have to do a video shoot about once a month.
Okay.
SK was at the most recent one, as she has played one of our heroines, Vendetta, for the past 4 years.
Gotcha.
And so, she knows how that goes. We have, one shoot about every month. At the end of 4 months, edit those and put out a new episode, which is downloadable directly from our website. People download it from all over the world. And then one comic book per year. So I would say 3 episodes a year, 1 comic book a year. So that's 4 things I have to create that are creatable, right? And then the rest of the time is spent pushing it, and everything from posting about the videos to scheduling 7 Comic-Cons 7 weekends in a row in the summer.
Right. It's a logistical nightmare.
And since I'm not using Diamond, I have to call every comic book store. I mean, not every single one ever, but I have to call 500 stores in order to get 200 of them to take the book, which pretty much is what happened. So calling doesn't take a lot of time. It just takes persistence, and you have to schedule yourself. So as far as that goes, I would say about 25 creative, 75 marketing. And the creative comes in spurts. Like you drink a lot of coffee, you pound out an issue, or you pound out a script, and then you plan for the shoot, and then you move on and do the next thing.
Yeah, well said.
About Grant.
And remember, I do want to touch on a subject with Grant. Grant, I lost you when you were telling us about the inspiration of Beowulf.
Yeah, hopefully we're back now.
Yeah, jump back into that question, which is, the question was, how did you get your inspiration for Beowulf?
So when I was a kid, my parents had these Time Life fairy tale books, and it was a whole collection of them.
Yeah,
and
man.
One of them was about Beowulf. And I remember reading it as a 12 or 13-year-old kid. And the thing that stood out to me was it reminded me of a comic book. And so I don't know if you were like this when you were a kid, but, me and my friends on the playground, we would all sit around making up superheroes. So I made up Beowulf. And when I started thinking about putting out a comic book again recently, I thought about, my childhood ideas for superheroes, and Beowulf was the most memorable of my childhood superheroes.
Nice. Well, thanks for sharing that. And how about you? What percentage of yours is creativity, and what percentage is?
I mean, it really depends on the day. There's some days where I get frustrated because it's like, God, am I a comic book creator or am I a marketing person? You know what I mean? Because, there's some weeks where I'll go 3 or 4 days without working on my comic book at all. I just do marketing stuff or administrative stuff, like, calling print shops, that sort of thing. And I think that's the frustrating part of being an independent comic book creator.
Sure.
For being totally honest, but
good answer. Good answer.
As far as what percentage, that's hard for me to say. I will tell you, I try not to go too many days in a row without doing anything creative. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm the same way. I almost am to a level where I sometimes don't trust people that don't make things. People that make things are different types of people. SJ, let's jump over to you. So when you have your, SK, I said SJ.
It's okay.
Okay. When you have your creativity in your marketing, which percentage is which?
Oh, see, I was kind of dreading this question because, it's about 10-90 creativity. It's creativity's winning that one. That might be
a good thing. I tell you what, I can't wait to chime in last because go ahead, finish your thought.
I've gotten up to issue 6 written, but actually, if I could afford to pay someone who would be just my marketing person specifically for that, I've got. It's not for lack of trying. It's just one of those areas that I don't have the most skill about. Once people read it, people get really passionate about it, which is such a good feeling. But at the same time, you got to get them to that point where they want to open up the book. Because I'm not Spider-Man. I'm not, I'm not DC. I'm not Marvel. I'm not Image. I'm not, I'm just a little indie comic. So it's getting people to get over that hump of just opening the book. And once they start reading it, once they delve into the story, I love seeing people get so passionate about it. So that's about the best. It's like very very grassroots marketing and everything, but I don't do nearly as much as I wish I could.
Okay. That's a good answer. There is no wrong answer on these questions. And I will just tell you, I have this shortcoming myself. I'm a creative, right? And they were saying this morning on one of the shows that it should be 20% creativity and 80% marketing. And the thought of that just terrifies me. And I tell you why. Because at the end of the day, man, I'm a writer. And of course, it isn't that I don't care about these other things, but I only do these other things as a means to an end to power putting out stories. You know, exactly. And if you would have told me 3 years ago that we're going to be talking about podcasts and social media and TikTok and the YouTube channel, and now there's 2 live broadcasts every week, it's craziness. What are we doing here? And it reminds me of something that Grant said. You know, for my original influence, he was this third person to mention the Time Life books. I was also a Time Life book. They used to have a big black set called Mysteries of the Unknown. And if you remember it, I had that book, and it's one of the reasons why I made this. That's my new one. It's Call of the Cryptid. Yeah, it's a cryptid-based sci-fi visual adventure. And I just wanted to share that because it was similar to the influence that I had with Time Life. But the show is really about Heroinberg, so let's keep going with that. We're going to jump back to Marvin next. My next question for you, Marvin, is in your view, what is the best source for you to do your advertising and marketing? Are you a social media guy, YouTube, comic conventions? What's the best process for Marvin?
YouTube.
And listen, I want to know why. Yeah, please tell me why you're saying that.
Because during the COVID lockdown where everyone was at home, the YouTube comic community exploded. And we were able to make contact with so many different YouTube channels and get to their audiences to help move books. So, I mean, this is where your kind of your meat and potatoes is at right now for reaching people is going to be through either YouTube, like you said, TikTok and things like that. That's what people are paying attention to now. And I've seen a lot of people do like Facebook ads and Twitter ads. I did a Facebook ad before and it didn't get me anything.
Yeah, same here. Do you mind if I ask what kind of budget are you doing on the Facebook ads?
I did it a while ago. I think I did like what, $200 or something.
That's what I did too. Yeah. I don't think I got one person from it.
Yeah. I probably got one person. so we evened out at 0. And sometimes we're on these shows and people are buying the book while you're talking, and they're hitting up the website, they're doing pre-orders, and they're doing everything you can do, letting them know that the books and previews helps, because not only do the people see that, but the stores see it. So if someone on these shows is saying, "Hey, I'm interested in that," the store is going to go, "Oh, we should order some of those, so we make sure we get this person into the store." So that's your biggest new thing is the YouTube streams that popped up in 2020 and have only gotten stronger as they've gone along. They've gone from people having 3, 10, 20 people in the chat or 20, 30 subscribers to thousands.
Right, exactly. And it's one of those things that it can blow up at a speed that's unheard of.
Mm-hmm. And it's like you can reach so many people. Like you've got the whole entire world open to you now, and the only thing that's holding you back is you and your own time. Like I really like to start doing things on YouTube, but I just can't.
Again, it's the time, right? It's the percentage of that bucket, and I think we all feel it. Just want to say hi to the guys in the comments. There's my buddy Rick Duray. What's up, Rick? Good to see you. Let's jump over to Heroinberg. I'm going to ask you the same question, and it's a little bit different for you because you're already very deep in the video element. But for marketing, what do you think is your best source? Is it putting out videos? Is it comic conventions? What is it?
Okay, we have what I'd like to call maybe 4 different audiences for what we do. So the marketing to each of those is different. To purely sell the videos, there are several sites which specialize in these kinds of superheroine videos, and I market to those sites. To market the comic book, it's a combination of what Marvin said. A lot of YouTube exposure. We use various hooks, angles to get people. For example, our cover artist who works for DC is also the colorist currently for Shane Davis. So there you go. Tell Shane Davis fans that our book has the same colorist, and that works. That's a YouTube thing, right?
Yeah.
Also, to some extent, Facebook groups. You don't necessarily want to pay Facebook or Twitter for ads, but still using Twitter to contact people through DMs like I do, or Instagram, and also using Facebook groups, for example, certainly doesn't hurt to tell people on the FemForce Facebook group about us, right? So comic books, there's many ways to market them. One is YouTube, another is Comic Cons, a third is calling stores directly, and then I would say the third aspect of us is just the fact that we're a local production, both in TV and comics. So when we do we premiere our episodes at local theaters, and people come see them that way. We also appear at local conventions. Sometimes we show the episodes on a screen every now and then, but mainly, as everyone in Comicsburgh knows, we market our book directly to a local audience, and it really helps to say, hey, this is from Pittsburgh, you're from Pittsburgh,
Right.
Support the local stuff, check it out. So I would say, yeah, there's 3 different audiences I have: the comic book audience worldwide, the video audience worldwide, and then the local aspect, which is especially good for us because our book is about Pittsburgh itself, and a fantastic version of it.
Sure. Yeah, it's a great concept and a great idea. And by the way, like I said, I've got a little background in Pittsburgh myself, and what a great city. I'm not just saying that because the guests that I have here tonight, but a super supportive.
You better say something good.
Yeah, my daughter went to Pittsburgh.
So, before we jump on, the thing about Pittsburgh is that it's not just about sports and pierogies or whatever. We don't
pirate pierogies.
Yeah. So the intro on our book says Pittsburgh's more than just pirates, penguins, and pierogies, and the way we create the characters, and they reflect the neighborhoods they're in and the local ethnicities in the area.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's
and all
awesome.
the industries that exist here, like computer, the universities and the medical people and the computer companies. And, of course, a few older ones like mechanics and steel workers. But, yeah, the way to create the characters is to have them imbued with Pittsburgh aspects.
Yeah. And I will say, too, that I even know one of the comics retailers out there, the Phantom of the Attic, I think it is.
There's 3 of them. They're all independent now. There's 3 different Phantom of the Attics, all individually owned in Oakland, Greentree, and Monroeville, and yeah, they all have our books. So
nice. All right, perfect. So let's jump over to Grant, and the same question for you, Grant. Like when you're marketing your stuff, what is your best practice? Is it social media? Is it YouTube? What works for Grant?
That's a tough question. I think probably, like Marvin said, probably YouTube is number 1, and then social media. I do have a newsletter now where I'm getting quite a few customers. I mean, the problem is that you have to have a social media presence or a YouTube presence in order to get a newsletter. But I mean, that's the end goal. The end goal is to have so many people signed up on your newsletter and have them be so loyal that all you have to do is send out that newsletter.
Right. That's eventually where it's headed. How about you, SK? Are you, what's your best thing? Social media? What's your preferred method?
Honestly, it's finding ways to connect with people is the hardest thing, because like I said, I'm starting from an unknown place. So getting people over that hump of just picking up the book is the challenging part. So getting people and connecting with people is a major challenge, but that's usually what I focus in on, because once you do get them past that point, they stay pretty loyal and they want to see what's happening next. They want to hear what's happening to the next one. And also outlets like this are a big part of what I do, because it gives me an opportunity to talk about the character at length. It gets me to talk about the marketing aspect and things like that. And it gets people interested in the venues that Music Maker is in.
Yeah, that's a great answer too. And while I kind of have you on the hot seat there, and we'll go around and ask this question, because I like to learn about the creatives that are making these products, and each product is a
Tim,
little
let me
bit different.
interrupt real quick because I'd like
Go
to
ahead, buddy.
answer the last question.
Go ahead, man.
Pop.
Now, I'm not a creator, okay, but I look at this from the fans' point of view, okay? And as a fan, we're not all on every platform. Some of us are only on one platform. Okay, so I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, if I was a creator and I'm trying to get this in front of as many people as I possibly can, I'm going to build some kind of a network, some kind of a centralized hub.
Right.
Okay, some kind of a hub that gets all the creators, all the podcasters, all the fans, that gets everybody coming to one place, and then from there branching out and expanding again their own platforms. Okay. Right. Some of the people that come to our network have more subscribers than I do. It's not about subscribers. It's about getting as many eyes on it as possible. If that means they come to my channel because my audience doesn't know about theirs, well, that's the whole point, is so that my audience finds out about their audience. Marvin's audience finds out about Timothy's audience. Critical Blast. You guys know all the different people that are involved in what we're doing. Yeah, it's all about getting eyes on. And that means using all the social medias. Okay. Right now we're on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, 3 different Facebook places.
Yeah. I don't think these guys, I don't even really tell them that yet. One of the things about the madness is we're all cross promotional. So even right now you're on something like 12 different channels.
And then everybody shares it out and shows Timothy's show. Like Max is live right now doing a launch party for his book. But over there sometime during the night, they'll be talking about Timothy's book.
Yeah, and I'll stop in and say hello, and we gotta shout out Grant's live Kickstarter too.
We're building something where everybody's fan base can bounce off each other, and that was the whole purpose of it, was to make sure that everybody found out what everybody's fan base finds out what everybody else is doing, not just what their guy's doing, you know. And it's starting to really show. It's like we have some channels that are small that are getting bigger. Some that are bigger than us and helping us grow, you know, and that's the whole point, guys. Use everything you can. I wouldn't say pay them, but use them. Okay.
If you can get the pay, go for it though.
You see, my goal is to build a Roku network around this. Okay. A Roku channel where it's view on demand, where somebody can come to my channel and see everything Heroinberg has. Okay. On our Roku network. We just upload it all. They can binge watch it from episode 1 to present, right? Just like Netflix. Okay.
That's
exactly
great.
The same type of a format. Okay. That's what I'm trying to build. When I get that built, you know what my YouTube channel is going to be? It's going to be short saying, hey, yo, everybody, go check out what Grant's doing on YouTube or on Roku right now. Yeah. Okay, go check out his newest episode on the Roku channel, uploaded today. That's all my YouTube channel is going to be, is shorts talking about what's going on over there. Use these guys, but don't pay these guys.
And if I can piggyback off of that, I mean that's a lot of what Heroinberg started, became. We're cross-pollinating is what we're doing. Right. We're getting, people who are interested in Heroinberg, who are going to be interested in Music Maker, or people who are interested in Beowulf, who might be turned on to The Edge. It's like we're sharing a collective. We're turning people on to our work, as well as other people who are just equally talented. They know that they're going to get quality stuff whenever they come to one of us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's a great idea. And Pops has a terrific point. And, I'll tell you, I sort of mentioned earlier that I was never the most qualified video guy, right? Again, this is another one of the things that happened accidentally, but I'm grateful for it. And of course, it enables me to meet with other creators. And of course, a couple of you guys I knew already, which is awesome. But the truth is that we sort of need each other, right? And I think what you guys have done with Comicsburgh it's a genius move. And the team is real strong. And as Marvin knows a little bit, I'm critical of books. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say this unless I thought you had some quality products. Because what happens is, look, I jump into the Kickstarter water and we all know each other. And what happens is we all start spamming our links. It's what we call the link graveyard. Hey, I'm going to drop the link in this group. I'm going to drop the link in this group. And you get to the third or fourth one and the algorithm shuts off, man. And the reason why is because people are starting to actively not follow it. So we got to find new and creative ways to reach the audience. I'm glad that Marvin said YouTube, because that's the one I'm trying. But I guess one question I'd want to ask, because I don't want to run out of time, but I want to talk about your characters a little bit. So let's go around, because you've all got very different, very diverse characters.
You don't have a time limit. There's nobody behind you.
Well, but I got to get to the, I'm in the Thursday night Kickstarter roundup. Yeah. And by the way, I should ask Grant to be invited to that then too, but we'll come back to that. Which for characters, when you start making your characters, I'll go to SK first. Do you have like a snippet of dialogue? Do you have like a sketch of what they look like? What is step one for making SK's characters?
Well, it's how they correlate with other characters mainly. But whenever I'm just starting out, like whenever I start out with Judah Morley, who is the protagonist, protagonist-ish character, the main character of Music Maker. When I started out with him, it was just I had this idea for a character who was just like, who would be absolute catnip to view from a third person perspective. But if you had to interact with him and the way his attitude is, you'd want to punch him in the face. Like, he's just that, that obnoxious. But whenever you're looking at it from a third person perspective, he becomes incredibly charming. So that was a big part of it. And also I knew I wanted to have a superhero that was using their superpowers for very mundane purposes. And that's the first thing that he does, is that he has all these superpowers and he uses them. And a lot of the way I can describe it is like Jessica Jones, the Purple Man. The way he would use his powers for something as stupid as just getting a smile from a pretty girl. Like, that's kind of the level. Those are the only goals that, Judah's really attaining with his power. And then he gets the opportunity to make good and to actually do something productive with his life. So, I mean, whenever I'm sorry, I'm taking up too much time here. That was it in a nutshell.
Okay. Well, let's jump over to Marvin. Marvin, when you're making your characters, it's the very first step. Do you have like a sketch first? Do you know what they say? Is there a script? What is the first step in making your characters?
Well, I think that you have to see how, like SK said, is that how do they interact with the other characters, and also how do they interact with the world that you've created? Because you don't want a character that doesn't fit into your world. If you have a world where you say you can't have a Superman, you have a Superman, then you've got a problem that you just created for yourself. So it's about coming up with an idea of how the character fits and then throwing it over to Mark to get a sketch of what it would look like. And then after I see what the character looks like and you kind of start breathing life into it, then you start expanding out on with the characterization, their background, and how they interact with the other characters in the world.
Nice. Herwenberg, how about you? When you make characters, do you have like a fully realized character idea or like a little script? How do you do it?
All right. Well, I'll start with the idea that the baseline of my world is Arthur C. Clarke. In other words, no magic. If something looks like magic, it's just really complicated science, no magic. So beyond that, I would say that if you're familiar with the unfortunate aspect of lately, every character having a single identity point that's never expanded upon or fleshed out, no good. What you do, and I'm really, really into categorizing and classifying things. So what I do is I create characters that have multiple identity points. And then
what do you mean? What do you mean by that? Can you expand on that?
With regards to Pittsburgh, that would be the point of, let's say, neighborhood, profession, ethnicity, maybe orientation, personality, a couple other things. You scramble those all together, you make a character, and then you flesh them out by giving them a worthwhile and interesting background. Nothing's shallow. Everything's deep. They have families, they have interests, they have dreams and goals and things they have to do at their job, etc. So yeah, never start with a single identity point. Always flesh out a character using multiple identity points, and that will really help give your characters depth and meaning. You see the one at the bottom left there? That is Savannah with the kitty cat, right? That's the first one I ever created. That's one of the characters I submitted to Dial H for Hero that never got published in like 1980. So you see how far I go back with that, right? But yeah, just make sure every character is as multifaceted and deep and the depth is there as possible.
I like it. Sounds pretty cool, man.
And also keep them, in my case, keep them powerful and feminine. That's all.
I'm right there with you. I am a female protagonist writer myself. Let's jump over to Grant. I'd like to hear a little bit about his characters. We notice there's a little bit of historical influence, but of course it is a reimagining. Where does yours start? Do you do a drawing first? Do you have a little bit of a script? How does Grant's characters begin?
Well, obviously Beowulf started with the fairy tale. And then I thought to myself, okay, what would be the weirdest, kind of like most unexpected angle to take that character? And of course I came up with the idea of, okay, what if he was reincarnated as a 30-something slacker? So that's where that character came from. His sidekicks, Mooney was of course based on my cat. And if you had ever met Mooney, you would see that he kind of has like, there's something about him that makes you think that he could be like a wise old wizard. So that's where that character came from. And Hazel, I kind of needed a way for, to get Mooney into the story. So I came up with his owner, Hazel. And she's kind of like a very sarcastic, kind of smart-ass 13-year-old, which that kind of just came... I don't know how I got the idea for that. I think that just kind of came to me.
Okay. Cool, man. Good answer. Good answer.
I got to interject really quick here. I got to bounce, guys, but but this has been fantastic. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Nice to meet you. I want to wish you every blessing with your project, and you're welcome anytime.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. So we'll come back to Marvin. I did want to ask one other question. We'll change it up just a hair. Now, in this case, like I say, you guys' stories you've basically got some very dissimilar stories. Would it be fair to make that assumption?
Yeah.
Like there's not like none of your and I hope I'm phrasing this in the complimentary way. That's the way I mean it. But you got like a bunch of very, the titles are not similar to each other, which is probably a strength for a publisher, right? So my question is this, when you're developing the plot and y'all have multiple issue arcs, we'll start with Marvin. Do you end your books on a cliffhanger or do you try to wrap the story up in a neat little chapter?
So the way I've been doing it, and what seems to work best is I'm pushing forward. So I close out the arc, but then give you a little nugget to go into the next arc.
Like a breadcrumb.
Yeah. So I think to me that works the best because it's like a TV series where you want people to come back for the next season. You don't want them to say, "Oh, that's it, it's over, everybody's dead, so now it's done with." But you want to try to lead someone forward. You want to do like as Grant mentioned before, the credit scene, just to give somebody a little bit more, so they say, "Oh man, I got to get to the next book or the next book, the next book, the next book," and you don't want them to say, "That seems like that's good, a good ending. I'm done."
Cool. Herwenberg, how about you? You like cliffhangers, or do you prefer to sort of button it up in each issue?
Well, before that, you said we're dissimilar. And I mean, to some extent that's true, but to some extent we're frighteningly similar. As Marvin and I discovered early on when we met, that we both had characters with almost the exact same name, Mark Drake and Marcus Drake.
Oh no.
And so there is going to be a crossover pretty soon where Marcus Drake meets Mark Drake in Pittsburgh. I think that's in the Edge. So that'll be interesting. So yeah, I mean, they're both, they're still both superhero books. But as far as what was the main point of this? Sorry.
In this one, do you prefer a cliffhanger or would you?
Yeah. So I write my stories similar to the way I grew up, reading things like Adventure Comics or Dial H for Hero, where there are 2 stories per book, and
Right.
sometimes they cross over into a second issue, sometimes they resolve. So I keep my tales short and sweet and packed, 8-story things, 2 per issue. The second issue also had a bunch of comic strips that we published in a local newspaper. I reprinted those. So yeah, I'm not. The videos more deal with arcs because they're like TV shows that have multiple stories going on at once, like on the CW. But the comics are a little shorter, and they really resolve within 1 or 2. We did have a cliffhanger. Will she survive after being attacked by her evil sister? That kind of thing.
Right.
So yeah, cliffhangers are fun, and I've done a couple of those, but I like them to resolve within 1 more issue.
Good answer. This is new to me. I always do what you mentioned, which is each issue was 2 short stories in it. This new title that I'm doing is my first one to end on a cliffhanger, with obviously the idea being that people will want to come back for number 2 and number 3. That's the hope anyway. So fingers crossed.
Well,
Grant, how about what's it
story
about?
arcs are always very cool. I would just say don't decompress it for the trade.
What do you mean by that?
Well, a lot of stuff has to happen in every book. If you have a couple books that are so decompressed that they're just sitting around, eating food at a diner for most of it,
right.
That's decompression, and you want to avoid that at all costs. You got to have action. You got to have stuff happening all the time.
Sure, I get that one. How about for Grant? So it was. Was it 6 issues, Grant, for Beowulf?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so does each one end on a cliffhanger? How did you do it?
Yeah, I would say each one more or less ends on a cliffhanger. I can't think of one that doesn't end on a cliffhanger. And yeah, but there's going to be a definite ending to issue 6, but I did leave room for there to be a sequel and perhaps a prequel.
Gotcha.
With Beowulf.
Okay, cool. Well, guys, we are just about running out of time. Okay, so once more, let's go around and tell us a little bit about where the viewers can find you, and also tell us real quick, what is the type of customer that will love your product? For example, Marvin, tell us about who will love The Edge.
Oh, if you are a fan of those great books that I love from the 90s, your X-Men and Wildcats, you'll love The Edge. If you like S.H.I.E.L.D., Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and things like that, you'll like The Edge. You can find me online at theedgecomic.com. There are links on the site to my link tree, which will give you all the other social medias.
Awesome. And just viewers, I got to tell you, I've seen this title. It looks great, and it's got a sci-fi flavor too. I really think customers will dig it. Herwenberg, tell us a little bit about where we can find you and what type of customer is going to just love your products.
All right, let's go with the type first. You like 70s superhero TV shows? You
Love
like
them.
You like 80s comics, like anything from Love and Rockets to Dial H for Hero, New Teen Titans, X-Men, Dazzler, Cloak and Dagger. You like 90s TV shows like Xena. You like 2000s comics like Empowered or Invincible or FemForce.
Nice.
Which has been there all along. You will find something to like. And as far as where we're located, you can see the website right there, herwenberg.com. And then we also have Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, which is a very popular YouTube with over 250,000 views.
Nice.
What is the other one? Instagram and even a DeviantArt.
Nice. All right. You guys are all over the place. Good job on the marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's move over to Grant. Grant, tell us about the best way we can find you, and tell us what types of customers will love Beowulf.
Okay, if you go to the Comicsburgh website, it's just comicsburgh.com, and then you click on the My Creator page as a list. But I'm G.W. Lankard, Lankard spelled just like my last name, on all of the social medias. As far as, I'm sorry, what was the other question?
What types of customer will love your book?
Yeah, of course. I think anybody who likes like books with like a lot of adventure, with a little bit of a mixture of kind of like of comedy thrown in there. And there's also a lot of heart in this comic book.
Nice. Well, it looks terrific. I just want to congratulate you guys on your many successes and getting in the previews catalog and the high quality of these titles. And viewers, if you're on the fence, please go and check out some of the material from the Comicsburgh gang. It's highly recommended. And I just got to tell you, nice job, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for coming on the show. I do these every Thursday and Friday night now, and I do a Friday night thing for people with live Kickstarters. So, Grant, if you're around tomorrow at 8 o'clock, why don't you give me a shout? But anytime you need a little bit of a plug or something for your book, I would love to do that for you. That's something that, you know, we're all in it together, and we're just trying to find a way to make it work. Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
So viewers, thanks for tuning in. This was an episode of the Creative Cranium. We got to meet the creative minds behind Comicsburgh, and I'm grateful to have them come on the show and share their wisdom. So please support these projects when you see them out in the wild. Other than that, I will see you guys next week. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thanks for having us on the show.
Bye.
All right. Good night, everybody.